Alright, welcome to another episode of Can You Connect? And this is Mr.WalkThatWalk. And today's episode is going to be on dating somebody and dealing with somebody who is having troubles with gambling disorder, video gaming disorder, being addicted to video games, let's say that, and somebody that's also addicted to social media. So the first one is going to be, we're going to start with gambling disorder. And our first person, is going to go over a couple. The first day they met, so this is a Caucasian male who had the gambling disorder, who was dating a Indian woman. First day they met, he told her about his gambling addiction. She was a bit, turned off by it because in her mind, he's going to be using up and spending up all the money. However, once she saw him working towards getting support for his addiction and getting services, then that kind of won her over. So, sometimes people just gotta see you getting help. He's doing it because he wants to do it. He's not putting all that pressure on his partner saying, oh, I'm just quitting because of you. Or I'm doing all these things because of you, because now that would be a lot on her. Our next person is going to be a Caucasian male from the U.S. He stated that his wife found out that he was gambling when in 2016 his wife found out he was gambling. So he hid his addiction from her for about 4 years. But everything all blown up. He blown through $1 million through gambling, facing criminal charges, took $28,000 from his wife's retirement fund, and was convinced that he was able to fix it, if he won through gambling. However, he was never able to fix that, and he was never able to get that money back. But he started gambling one time in 2001 and won $900, which gave him a huge rush and made him feel more comfortable with doing it again to get that same rush. So I think he's gambled for over 15 years, and he gambled away all the resources, and took money from even his 5-year-old son's piggy bank just to gamble it. So once everything came out, he definitely had thoughts about taking his life, especially when the family found out. However, due to them not pushing him away, they pushed him away a little bit, but it wasn't to the extreme. They said for him to still be in their lives, he needed to go get services. And if he'll get services, then they will support him and stay in this life. So he went and got treatment, and even took this stand at court, but he did serve jail time for his behavior. So for 4 months, he did feel a bit lonely, but ended up meeting a supportive friend who did heroin. So he met somebody that was kind of going through things a bit worse than him. So that kind of kept him a bit motivated, and he was using his time in prison to help the guy with his addiction. And witnessing his pain kind of changed him as a person. So now he goes forward, once he got out of jail, to make amends with everybody he hurt. And there's a African American male from the U.S. Reported gambling to the point where he will only have like cents or quarters left. Then he'll be thinking he could turn cents to $2 and $2 to even more things. He wanted to pay bills with his big wins and big payday. And he would go to the pawn shop just to sell off his things to get money, just to gamble it again. So he lost over $37,000 in gambling and wanted to record his behavior because he knew his behavior was a bit different and off. And the more money he makes, the more money he would put into his next gamble. Which in his mind, his way out of all his debt. And he put so much in that, he needed to get what he felt like he was owed back. So that's why he kind of kept going, because he felt like the casino owed him his money back, or of what everything he'd spent. But he ended up losing everything. He ended up losing his place he was staying, his job, his spouse, and he ended up really struggling. But I got curious and I did a follow up on him. So he's doing way better for himself now. So that was a positive. And there was our next person is an older Caucasian lady. She mentioned that her addiction to gambling started with going to church due to them having bingo. And she would do that, every Sunday. And then the lottery came, so she was going to do the lottery once a day. So now that became a thing. And once the casino came, everything got worse. So it seems like it's almost like they was preparing people in their town to get ready for this. So that was pretty interesting to hear how it transitioned. And she had things that she needed to do with her life, so she, spent her time taking care of her kids, her parents, and her husband's parents. So she had a lot of things she needed to do, so those things kind of kept her from being super addicted to gambling. However, once all her kids moved away, and those parents passed away, and then her husband just started working, so he wasn't home. So she would just go to the casino with her friends, and that's when it started to get worse for her. To the point where they're going every day just to gamble. You know, she's also to the point where now she's taking money from other people. So she ended up watching her friend's house, and because they were going on vacation, and since they were going on vacation, she ended up stealing her friend's paychecks and cashed them out and used that money to go gamble with because she was out of money. And we know what happens next once you're stealing from somebody. The police show up, so she would end up being charged with that to the point where she got a bit lucky with that and got 2 years probation. But all that, dealing with the probation and dealing with that embarrassment, she was having thoughts about taking her own life, and she went to the hospital. And once she got out of the hospital, her husband ended up leaving her. Once she got out of probation and got out of the hospital. So that was pretty interesting. And that made her situation worse. So she went right back to gambling. Right after she got off. So it ended up stealing again, to where she was back dealing with the court system again because of her behavior. And luckily, her attorney said that she insisted that she go to a program so that she's able to get support and work on her behavior. But it was still hard for her because at a certain point she won $27,000 left, and in her mind she was like, "I'm not coming back." But the casino's a bit so wild that it was like trying to get her to stay. She didn't stay. She left, and she was going to be done with gambling. But they sent a limo to where she was staying and invited her back to the casino. It's crazy. But she ended up going back. It's wild, bro. And that will conclude our talk with the gambling. So next is going to be video games. This person is a Caucasian male. And he felt as though that people cared about him online more than they did in the real world. Plus, he was good at video games. So he passed up on opportunities in the real world to be successful. And felt that the real world was, felt that he was failing in the real world. So it made him just want to play even more and just enjoy the video games. To have that getaway from that failure. To the point where he would be gaming all night, all day. And since he was up all night and all day, he was just not taking care of himself. Wasn't showering. He wasn't eating properly. At times, he'll be gaming 24/7. And repeating these things every day. Man, he will often game when he's high. And during, more things that was making him a bit addicted to gaming because people were looking up to him in the community. So his life was way more focused on that. Because he wasn't really good in the real world and making progress. So it was like, why focus on that? Our next person is going to be a biracial Mel, who said that he would spend 12 to 16 hours gaming. He'll spend that, and then he'll watch porn, he'll sleep, and be back on that same cycle of things. And due to him having depression, he would use that as an excuse for him to just play video games the whole day. And at times he would even spend money in the game. So the end game where you spend money, he'll spent close to $600 because they had a randomized box where you might win certain prizes. But he wanted a certain prize, so he just kept spending money on the prize so he could get the item he wanted. So sometimes he'll just keep spending money, and then sometimes he'll just stop and just allow himself to feel down about it. And his family ended up taking him to a retreat for his gaming addiction, and he mentioned that helped him get into music, hiking, and exploring his uncomfortable emotions. So that was a positive. Our next person is going to be a Asian girl. She reported that she didn't really admit to her having an addiction in gaming. She reported having autism, and when younger, she didn't really talk to anybody but her family, and having a hard time with making friends. But she admired her brother and who he was as a person. And, wanted to be around him and spend a lot of time. And, to spend a lot of time, you got to be into the same thing he's into. So he was into gaming, and then that's how she got into gaming. But she wanted to, and they were gaming together, however, they were playing Overwatch, and they were real good at the game. But when she joined it, she wasn't that good. So they ended up kicking her out, and then, her mindset, she's going to focus on skyrocketing her skill level so that she could play with them. But by the time she got a chance to play with them again, or had the opportunity, they already stopped playing that game in particular. And she'll be on there for validation. She wanted that validation from people in the gaming world. And she ended up getting real good at the game. And she mentioned not having friends and was depressed. And ended up getting back on the game because of the depression. And also being bored. And then at a certain point she started having some online friends and starting to get attention from them. And she enjoyed the attention because some of these people, they were fighting for her attention. And she became way more addicted to it because she wasn't getting that attention in real life. To the point where she detached herself from real life. And only went out her way to look nice only when she was online. And she often admired the other girls as well. she felt that she didn't really look that good or looked ugly in her eyes. And due to her addiction, she stopped really caring about school and going to school and college. And went to just focus on gaming. She started streaming Overwatch. So she was engulfed in it. She would often play for 12 hours a day. And at some point, she weighed almost 85 pounds because she wasn't eating. She wasn't doing her self-care. She felt like she just needed that escape. And this is, due to all those failures of trying to make friends and failing at it, she'll just spend that time online because she had a lot of success with making friends on there. And, these things affected her day-to-day life. Especially the lack of hygiene, the lack of self-care, the lack of taking care of herself. She ended up getting cancer, and that kind of changed everything for her. She had that time to work through her thoughts and how she was feeling, and now she just became upset with herself because she felt like she wasted her time and wasted her energy on doing all this gaming stuff and recognizing in the real world that it doesn't matter. When you talk about the gaming stuff to people, they don't really care about that. They care about what you're doing in reality. And now she's working on taking breaks from gaming, giving herself space from it, and working on what's important to her, which is fixing her life. And I will be good with her, and I will be good. Yeah, that'll be it for the video games. So now we're going to get into the people who are addicted to social media. So there's a African American woman mentioned, not being able to sleep without her phone, stayed on social media, avoided school, wanted to go out with friends. I think she lost her father at some point, and that made her addiction worse to social media. Becoming that persona online because she wasn't who she wanted to be in reality. To the point where she had kind of stopped going to school, she stopped going out with friends, she just spent most of her time online. And she was avoiding these emotions, avoiding the grief, and going through that grief, she would heal. And she ended up working on making improvement for herself because she didn't want to stay online forever. And our last person is going to be a Caucasian lady who discussed being addicted to social media such as Instagram and loving the likes, the comments, the sharing of her content. because she made herself a social media person. So she did a lot of, let's say, sexual things online to get those likes and comments. And she didn't really end up working. You know, she could have worked as a nurse and did a lot of things through that, but she would have had a giving up her phone because nurses, you're taking care of patients. You can't be on your phone. So, excuse me, she forgo becoming a nurse just to be on her phone, just to have that opportunity to be on it. And she reported being sexually abused by her father and felt like her mom didn't support her or love her or, really hear her out. And I saw that really in the video that the mom didn't really have a lot of, I don't know if the mom didn't believe her. It seemed like, it seemed like the mom didn't believe her. The mom had a lack of empathy. And then it looked like in a mom's mind, it's like, yo, just suck it up and do what you gotta do. But you never really help heal your daughter. So it's like, how can you expect to have a good connection with her? So that was pretty interesting. Because she felt abandoned and unseen. But when she's on social media and posting her sexual content, they're giving all the love and attention to her that her parents weren't able to do for her. So she ended up going on a retreat with No to help her with her addiction to social media. And she mentioned that kind of helped her work through her emotions and her thoughts to make improvements in her life. So, yeah, these are definitely just things to keep in mind that, everything comes from somewhere. There's a reason why people are having certain struggles and, not being able to get past it because something happened to put them in that predicament. So, okay. So these are just things to keep in mind, and we're definitely going to support Black-owned business. And this one is going to be a restaurant called Jamaica Island Cuisine that I had in Tampa, Florida. So their food was definitely pretty good. So I'll post all their stuff in the description below. And of course, definitely show love to the person who does my intro and outro music, and myself. I'm a clinical social worker for the state of Maryland who provides individual, couples, and family therapy. So if you're interested, definitely just send me an email. And yeah, that will do it. So y'all definitely have a good rest of the night and a good rest of the week.